Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Many of us are around for different parts of everybody's lives, and I know that I have not been around for every single part of my mother's life, and neither have any of you. So I want to tell you a little background about my mother, and then I will tell you some fun stories, either that she's told me or memories that I have, because I have lots of fun memories of my mother. Her name is Marvel Alma Tallis, as she was born in 1936 in Apple Springs, Texas. She was born in a little one-room log cabin, and she was the fifth of 6 kids. Imagine all that in one room. And I saw that cabin, and it's like, Mom, that's not even a cabin. That's a shack. It was tiny. It had no running water. It had air holes through the wood, no drywall, and no electricity. But that's where my mom was born. She's come a long way since then. She was, like I said, born in Texas, and she was very proud of that Texas heritage. In fact, whenever she met anyone from Texas, she would usually introduce us to as kids as, and they're from Texas. They're probably a cousin. I think I'm related to every Texan in the United States, but that's my mom. I think that's also what got her prompted perhaps in family history, because she loves doing family history. Her father, they were a very humble family, let's put it that way. That sounds nicer. He was a day laborer working in sugarcane fields or the cotton fields. And even as a family, the whole family worked picking cotton at different times. And my mom talked about remembering that. And remember getting poked in the fingers. That was one of her childhood memories from the prickly things in the cotton. He also was a carpenter, and Grandpa was also, get this, a bootlegger, and was apparently quite good at making corn whiskey. Mom remembers being able to go to, or being sent out to a hollow log or a hollow stump to go get the jug, because Texas was, or her county was a dry county, and you were not allowed to have liquor in the house. So they kept it away from the house in case they ever got invaded. At the age of 9, Mom's parents divorced, and they moved to California. She lived with a stepfather and her mom for a while. She actually went back to Texas and lived with grandparents. She actually had foster parents in California who hopefully you'll hear about a little bit more later, because they tried to teach her some things that I think are kind of funny. Anyway, also in California, she joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where she met my father, Howard Gilmore, and married him in the Los Angeles Temple. They were blessed with 3 children, 2 obnoxious boys, and 1 beautiful, gorgeous daughter, me. Got to get that in there, because one of those obnoxious boys is in the audience. Let's see. Unfortunately, after 13 years, that marriage ended, and Mom brought us kids to Sacramento to be closer to her older sister and to be near family. Now, not too long after that, some friend convinced her to join her at a singles club and to go out to meet men. And so she went to this club. And I tell you this because even though Grandpa was a bootlegger, Mom was not a drinker. And she met her future husband, Robert Irvine, and he loved to tease her to tell everybody that he met her at a bar with a drink in her hand. Now, if you knew my mom, like I said, she did not drink. It was 7-Up, but that's where they met. They married in, I like the fact that Linda said she was married on the 4th of July. Mom was married on October 31st, 1970 to Bob. And with that marriage, she gained 2 more children, a son and daughter, and also a house, a cabin, a 50-acre Christmas tree farm, and 30 Boy Scouts. So I think she actually had about 35 kids. Those scouts meant a lot to her, and You know, in fact, I'll tell you one of those little stories right now, because you know how does everyone have a mom and you're in a store and you're saying, Mom, Mom, and they all ignore you? And yet every other mother around is like, oh, is that my kid? Except for my mother. And I don't know, has anyone had that experience? Well, the scouts always called Mom, because her name's Marvel, they'd call her Captain or Captain Marvel. And if she ignored me when I tried saying Mom, then I would say Captain, and she would think it's one of the scouts. And it's like, she would pay attention, and it's like, oh, good, my mother's now there. Anyway, that's just one of those things that I remember about. Anyway, with the cabin and the farm, it's in one place. Every weekend we spent going up to the farm and working. We were all required to work at least 2 hours on Saturday and Sunday, or 4 hours on Saturday, whatever we wanted to do. And the scouts could also earn extra money. But, you know, at one point Bob retired, we moved up to the cabin, and Mom and Dad worked side by side all the time. The tree farm, you didn't just plant a Christmas tree one year and harvest it the next. So therefore, Mom was always next to Bob, working very hard and supporting him and what he was doing. There was trees to plant, trees to prune. Oh my goodness, trees, you know, cement to be done, buildings to be built, just to do. And Mom was always there working. She was always a very industrious person. Some of the fun stories that I still can't quite figure this one out, but I want to tell you something, because, you know, with her foster parents that she had, they were trying to teach her some of the, what I'd call social skills that she didn't get from her mom. And they wanted her to learn how to answer a phone properly. Well, they both stepped out and went out for something, and she was in charge of the phone, and they came back. And one of the things that a phone call had come in, they asked who it was. She said, I don't know, I didn't get his name. Like, oh, okay, well, what did he want? I don't know, but he sounded like he had a hat on. Now, I don't know about you guys, but all I know is that my brothers and I are just stupefied by trying to figure out, what does it mean? What did a guy sound like that has a hat on? One other last little funny story about my mom, and that is, as all moms do, I think, Mom went and I wanted to ask her about a word. What's the definition of suspense? Well, Bob and the boys were gone, and as all moms, she says, well, go look it up. And it's like, well, you know, I didn't want to look it up. That's why I came to ask you in the first place. I went and looked it up, or I didn't look it up. She went, and all of a sudden she kind of turns, and behind her, she's in the laundry room. She reaches out and touches the door and locks the door. Did you hear that? Like, no, didn't hear a thing. Oh, okay. And that's when she locked the door. And she's kind of like, you didn't hear that? I said, no. And she's like, you know, are the doors locked on the patio? Are the French doors locked? And by this time I'm sitting there going, I don't know. I'm not going to go look. And she says, Bonnie, that is suspense. Oh, Mom. I mean, my heart was throbbing. I was pounding. That's the type of mom I had. She was willing to teach in all circumstances. She was always serving others and helping. Mom did so much more than what she had, gave us so much more, and wanted so much more than she had growing up. She provided for us. She was fun. She loved to wrestle with us. She taught us gardening. She taught us sewing. She taught us how to serve other people. And I just want to say, she made life better for us. She made a good life for us kids. And I just want to say, Mom, I love you, Mr. Toastmaster.